My main thing left and my side thing switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Main thing left, side thing switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Main thing left and my side thing switched up. It's better that way.
Welcome back to the Freelance Network Podcast, everybody. A podcast by content creators for content creators, for the brand shout out. So Cassie is not here because Cassie is being a diligent student. She's got homework due at midnight, 10 o'clock here. She's grinding, that online Zoom university. That's how we do. But podcasting, it's got to happen. Cassie, we miss you, but it's got to happen. So today I am joined by Perry Grone. Perry, why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
Oh, my name is Perry Grone, as you said, and I'm introducing myself now. Thanks for having me, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah. So a little background about how I found Perry. So my favorite YouTube channel is a channel called Yes Theory, and Perry is frequently on that channel. He's really good friends with those guys. And so one thing that's really cool about Yes Theory is they have all kinds of different people on their videos. And almost every time I just like to follow them because they usually end up being cool. But Perry happens to be a stand-up comedian, a podcast host, a content creator, an influencer, all these different things packed into one. And I just DM'd him one day and he answered. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be on here, man. I appreciate it a lot.
I'm excited, man. Yeah, the word influencer is very weird. Do people even say that anymore? Is that a thing that people are?
I feel like it is. Like I hear it all the time.
Okay.
And I mean, when I describe like the kind of people I want on the podcast, like an influencer, I mean, like, do you happen to know how many Instagram followers you have? Because I feel like it's a good basis.
Probably in like the 20,000s, but I feel like with influencer, it's like you're either you're Tony Robbins or you're Dan Bilzerian.
Okay, that's fair.
Fun
fact, actually, funny you say Dan Bilzerian. When I went to LA last year for my spring break, my friends and I accidentally ended up in Beverly Hills in his neighborhood and found his house.
No, wait, how did you know it was his house? Because there were naked girls everywhere or something weird?
Well, for one, the size and like his logo was on the gate.
Shut up.
Yeah, no, it's true. And we also found Elon Musk's house too.
What, dude?
I know. It's so random.
Those houses shouldn't be that easy to access.
Okay, they really weren't. So we were driving past, like, I forget the name of the neighborhood. It's the really fancy one in Beverly Hills.
Okay.
But the gates opened for a service van. And we were just like, when are we ever going to get another chance to drive in this neighborhood? Like, we're not going to have a house here, so we may as well just drive around for a half hour. And
so you just creeped around on some rich people. That's the best. I love that.
Right? It doesn't get better than that. Like, I was just in Beverly Hills for the day. I was just at a Chipotle, and then here I am at Elon Musk's house. Like, can't beat it.
How funny would that have been if you drove by Elon Musk's house and he had a Hummer outside?
Oh my God, exposed.
That would have been great.
Yeah, I would have been like, just give me a Tesla and I won't say a word.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah.
Hanging out with rich people vicariously.
Oh, yes. So, Perry, I just wanted to know, too, because I know through your podcast, you're not from LA, you're from Oregon. So how did you end up in LA?
Yeah, man. I'm from Oregon. I'm from like a small farm industrial-ish type of town in Oregon. And I had always wanted to come down to LA to do video, like film and direct, but this was before I was doing comedy. Then once I graduated college, that was just my goal forever, to like work on movies and stuff like that. And this was before social media. I wanted to do this, like before Instagram, and I had no idea that, social media was going to be a thing. And then once I graduated college, by that time I had made a couple short films. One got into a film festival. Two of them got into a film festival. One of them won an award. And so I was kind of like on this trajectory of like excitement and like, hitting these benchmarks that I like, these goals, I guess. And then I was like, all right, let's do it. And I pulled the trigger, moved to California. And what was the question again? I totally spaced it.
No, you nailed it. It was, how did you end up in California?
Right. I knew I nailed it, dude. My subconscious is spot on. But no, yeah. So I moved down here and just bounced around a lot, and now I'm finally settled in. That was about 5 years ago.
So like when you first got to LA, like what was your approach? Like, did you just kind of go out and film, or did you know some people already?
I barely knew. It's a funny story. Do we have time? This is a
Oh,
little.
we got it. Yeah, we
We're
have
gonna be
time.
here. Well, we're
Yeah.
gonna be here for many hours.
Oh,
Dude, okay.
yes.
So my goal when I was gonna move to California was to film, like direct and stuff like that. And then I came down here with two things happening for me. One was an internship at a production company, and another one was interning for a commercial director. He's one of my favorite. He directs commercials, but he makes them like short films, and they're great. And so I moved down here with those in mind, those goals, and I started working at the production company, and I started talking to the director simultaneously at the same time. I was working at the production company. I was working there for 1 week, and it was absolutely horrible. I was doing nothing that I wanted to do, and I quit. So I quit. And then I was like, okay, dang, what am I going to do? What am I supposed to do? And with this director, he kept telling me I might have some stuff coming up. I might have some stuff coming up. And that was like going on for like a month, just back and forth, back and forth. I randomly, I was searching online and randomly found somebody was posting, they needed a videographer for a nonprofit. And I had never traveled and like hardly anywhere, and had hardly ever had the opportunity to travel anywhere. And it was not a paid thing. And I just Zoom, like Skyped them back and forth a couple of times. I was like, this is what I can do. And at that point, they offered me, they're like, all right, we want you to fly to Chicago, go on the road with us. And we were going to be in an RV for like 2 months with these group of guys that I had no idea who they were at all. And we were going to be traveling around and like doing nonprofit work. So at that point I was like, okay, I had these two options. I had the director was telling me like I don't know what would we just like baiting me a little bit, like we're gonna work, we might work in a little bit, and then I had this other thing that was like the riskier thing and not paid. I had no idea who these like random dudes were that I was going to be traveling in an RV like around the country with. Like, sounds very creepy. Um,
Very trustworthy.
yeah, 100%. Nothing horrible was going to happen. Found random dudes off the internet when roulette was popping, and
Oh, chat roulette.
yeah. So it was weird. But then I thought about it a lot, and I was like, okay, I feel like right now is a great time in my life to take a risk. And I talked to some people and like mentors and stuff like that. And then I pulled the trigger and I said, like, I'm not going to do the director thing. And I'm going to go do this nonprofit and travel and stuff like that. And it ended up like laying the foundation for so much of the work that I'm doing now. And I met like some of my best friends through that. That's how I met Yes Theory. That's how I met my best buddy, BC. And yeah, man, it really taught me that like risk taking is so valuable. So whenever I'm like in a position where I'm like, dang, what should I do? That's scary. If I make that decision, I just do it.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice little segue, because one thing I wanted to ask about was the traveling good with BC and
Yeah.
kind of that experience. So that was like a nonprofit Kickstarter you guys did, where basically your idea was to take Yes Theory's message and your message on the road. So why don't you talk about that a little? Because I that was very cool to follow along.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so BC and I kind of brainstormed that. God, what was that? 2 years ago now. Yeah, it was essentially we just like hopped in a RV, that same RV, and traveled around the country 12,000 miles for like almost 3 months. And we just hosted these events where nonprofits could come out. And again, this was before I did comedy, but this like gave me a little touch, like a little taste into like what it's like to be on stage with a microphone and talking to people. But nonprofit people are a lot kinder than the people you get drunk at an open mic at a bar in West
Oh,
Hollywood.
sure.
Little different. But yeah, so we did that, and it was really cool, man. It was crazy. We had hardly anything planned. So we would get into a city and we would have to organize an event like the day before. And so that's what we did for like almost 3 months. It
I
was
mean, that's
intense.
crazy, but
Yeah.
you pulled it off, which is super awesome.
Yeah, it was wild, man. It was cool. And we talked about doing it again, but I think this time my next goal is to like go on the road and do like stand-up shows, and then maybe incorporate something with that in it. But yeah, it was a really cool time.
Well, that's another great segue too, because you said that comedy is a little more recent to you. So how did you get into stand-up comedy?
Ooh, good question. I'm actually I'm lying down right now.
You're
More so,
lounging.
I'm
Hey,
dude,
Freelance Network, we're chill. It's
I'm.
a nice, relaxed environment.
Oh man, my back feels great. I'm just stretching. I always had it in the back of my mind to do it. Like I grew up watching Saturday Night Live and Chris Farley and then Will Ferrell and stuff like that. And so it was always in the back of my mind to try stand up. And then man, it was just kind of like everything that I did kind of always led back to just like making people laugh. Or like not that I am always making people laugh because I'm annoying most of the time, 100%, but it always led me to the thought in my head, like, I like the idea of making people laugh. Whether I was traveling into like, before I did comedy, I did the nonprofit stuff, and I also would travel to developing countries. And sometimes like we barely spoke the same language, but the foundation that we all had is like just roast each other and laugh and like goof around. So that kind of affirmed my like idea that I was going to do stand up. And then I remember I was at like another crossroads where I was like, okay, what am I going to do? A lot of I was traveling was fun, but I was like doing it so much, I was getting kind of exhausted. And then one time I was just like traveling, I was all by myself. I like flew to another country to work on a project. Literally right when I landed, thunderstorm, lightning storm hit, and it flooded the streets and it flooded everything. So I was in a country all by myself, barely spoke the language, and I was like, okay, I gotta figure out what I'm doing with my life. And
I
I
mean,
was
what
like,
better setting to do it than that?
oh yeah, to where you have hardly anything, and there's probably bugs in your hair, and you're confused and lost and alone and scared and afraid. It's a great time to
Yeah,
make.
naked and afraid.
Literally, yeah, naked and afraid without the cameras, which is more humiliating. If you're naked and scared, you want to have somebody filming you. But it it was crazy. So I decided to. I was like, all right, when I get back home, I'm gonna go do an open mic. I'm gonna pull the trigger and do the open mic. And then I went to an open mic on September 10th, or sorry, September 7th at a 10:30 open mic in Burbank, California. I'll never forget it. And it was the scariest thing I'd ever done in my entire life. And I did it. And I was like, all right, well, I got to do that again every day. And then, yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Just like clicked with you. It's like you've been meant to do this, but it just hadn't happened yet.
I maybe, man. Yeah. It's just really fun. I have so much fun doing it. Hanging out with comics is awesome. And it's all like, I mean, yeah, I'm still trying to figure out like how to my style and like how to format a joke and stuff like that. So it's a whole learning experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's like a lot that goes into like pre-production of a comedy sketch. Like you don't just walk up on stage and just start saying things. Like there's a lot of specific jokes in mind, like the way you tell them, the structure. It's storytelling.
Yeah, it's one of my friends. I heard him talking about it. It's like math. It's like an equate, and that clicked into my head for me because it's like, oh, if I say these phrases, if I say these words in a certain way, then it works better. And then you kind of like switch them and flip things around, and then kind of like exaggerate it. I always try to exaggerate things, and I always like something that I thought of recently that I've been working on is like, what's the contrast? It's hard to explain, but this is actually the first time me explaining it out loud. So if it makes no sense, I apologize to all the listeners and disregard everything that I'm about to say. But it's like, I think like the contrast of something where it's like, which it kind of goes into misdirection, which creates like a punchline, I think, where it's like, if I'm talking about this thing, all of a sudden I'm talking about something completely different. And that gets like a laugh. And that could be whether you're talking about, and this is maybe again will make no sense, but if you're talking about ice cream, okay, that's a very bland thing to talk about, just a plain thing to talk about. But then you may get a joke about I don't know, 9/11 or something like that. That's a very exaggerated, but that's the contrast. You see, you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No,
So
I
it's
get.
just it's
You're
like
making
shocking,
sense. Yeah.
right? Okay, I don't know. Yeah, wow, I just got hot there. So yeah.
pressure's on. But yeah, I just think it's like a whole different type of content that a lot of people don't understand the work that goes into. Where like, yeah, like somebody makes a video, you know, they film it, they edit it, they post it. But for a comedian, I feel like a lot of them, nobody really thinks about that and thinks about the work they put in. And then also like how they keep changing it each show they do too, where they see reactions, they see what worked, what doesn't. So I think that's a really interesting thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, think about it like this. The top comics in the world, like the top comics, it takes them like 2 or 3 years, or sometimes even 4 years to make one just 60 minutes of jokes. That's crazy. Like Kevin Hart's new special he came out with, Anthony Jeselnik. I mean, all these people, it takes them like 2 to 4 years to come up with just 1 hour. Like Steve Martin. I don't know if you know Steve Martin, but he,
Oh, I know Steve.
Mr. Steven.
Yeah,
Have you read his
classic.
book? Have you read his book?
I have not read his book.
Born Standing Up. I listened on an audio book, which was really cool because he reads it. And yeah, it was something like he had been doing comedy for, I think it was like 18 years or something like that. And within that 18 years, he only had 4 hours of comedy.
Wow.
It's just like there's so much work that goes into it, and there are a lot of different variables. Whether that's the crowd or how you're feeling that night, and there's if there's a drunk lady in the back that's like there's a bachelor party, and is it bachelor or bachelorette?
You can do both. There's
Both
both.
is the same.
Yeah, there's a bachelor party or a bachelorette party. I can't say it right, but you're.
I don't know what you can't say it, and I don't know what it is, so
Yeah.
we'll leave that alone. But yeah, there's so many different variables that go into it, and but it's fun, man. I'm having a great time with it. I'm having a blasty.
Yeah. So now, are you doing do you have any shows lined up like after the quarantine ends? Hopefully.
Hopefully they'll happen. I had a bunch that were planned right now, but they all
Oh,
got canceled.
I'm really sorry to hear that, man. That sucks.
I know. I'll survive. Dude, I've been going insane inside. I'm sure everybody is, but I'm going to complain about my own life right now. Because the only time I ever really because I work from home, the only time I ever really left was to go do comedy at night. And now I can't do that. So now I just sit in my house at night and try to watch a movie or
Yeah. What's your favorite quarantine hobby?
fold my clothes or something. I've been playing video games. I've been playing video games.
Nice. What you playing?
I've been playing Call of Duty. I've been playing. Do you ever play Batman Arkham Knight?
I played a couple of the games in that series. I didn't get to Arkham Knight though.
Okay,
Is that the newest one?
Maybe the one I can't. There's like 4 of them, and I've played a bunch of them. But the one I just played, I think, was either Arkham Knight or Return to Arkham or something like that. But I just beat it, which I'm not embarrassed to say, although I should be embarrassed. Because it's Batman Arkham Knight. That's why I should be embarrassed.
It's funny you said Call of Duty. I was literally just playing it before we got on this call.
Oh, are you playing? Are we okay to talk? Are we playing Warzone?
Oh, we can play Warzone.
Okay, we'll play some Warzone after this. Not right
All right,
now.
sounds good. Yeah. Well, we're podcasting. Got to stay professional. Yeah,
totally,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So, another thing I wanted to ask you about too was you're not just a stand-up comedian. You also do sketch comedy through YouTube videos, Instagram TV, TikTok, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which the other day I was watching your 2020s canceled video. We talked about this on your Instagram live, but there was a couple moments in that video of you just reacting with people in the streets of Los Angeles, where you reminded me of Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm so much, where it would just turn to you, the camera would go to you and your face, it just reminded me of that. You can't teach that kind of comedy. It's just I have a best friend, Mitch, who is like that too, where no matter what the person's doing, it's probably funny somehow.
That's great.
That kind of video, I feel is not happening as much on YouTube now, where people don't want to interact with the people anymore because they're afraid of bad reactions or getting filmed by somebody else. But yeah, so you also have your YouTube channel where you just post all kinds of random sketches. So what's your process of making a video like that?
Dude, yeah. Well, thanks for bringing it up and plugging it and saying it was funny, because sometimes I post them and I'm like, what I mean, actually, no, I take that back. I would say most of the time I'm like, I don't care what anyone thinks. I really do like these videos. But the process, I'm still trying to figure out the style. That 2020 canceled video, people really responded to well. Like, it was probably one of my most engaged videos. And so that I did that right before the quarantine, and then I posted it, and I was like, oh shit, I'm going to do more of those sort of videos. And then we had to be locked up inside and play Call of Duty Warzone all the time. So my plan is I'm going to go back out and do more of those. I did one more before the quarantine that's like it is outside, like getting reactions of people, but it's not that engaged. I essentially go around and do karate in public around people and see if they're able to like rate my karate moves. And people are like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? Which is so great. But
you love those reactions. They're the best.
Oh, it's the best. I mean, it is really nerve-wracking, and I want to get to the point where when you do it, you kind of get into a zone of just like, okay, at first you're like nervous, but then after a while it's just like, okay, we got to get footage, and like, this is actually funny. And people surprisingly a lot of the time want to be on camera, and so they're okay to like participate and mess around, and that's the best when they know the camera's there and then they lean into it. But the goal, I think, with that stuff, I always want to be the butt, what is it, the butt or blunt? The butt of the joke. The butt of the joke, yeah. I always want to be the butt of the joke, because I see some prank videos that they're not, and it's like making the other person that makes the other person feel, I mean, uncomfortable isn't the right word because that's funny, but like just puts them down.
It's in like a bad spot for them. Like,
yeah, it's in a bad
tape. Fail.
Yeah, which is okay, but I think at the end, like, I definitely want to always be the butt of the joke. Like, I grew up watching Jackass. They were did you watch Jackass?
Oh my god, yeah. Like so my friends and we were on the track team, and I wasn't there for this, but they came up with Track-Ass, and we're just filming videos in like the locker room of doing very stupid things.
Oh yeah.
Jackass is classic.
Oh yeah, they're making Jackass 4. I don't know if you heard about that.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, they're all like 40 or 50 years old, and so it'll be definitely the last one because they'll all die. But I'm really excited for it. I was just listening to an interview with Steve-O. But anyway, so those guys, they were the reason I picked up a camera when I was younger, and my dream Steve-O does stand-up comedy, and one of my like dreams would be to like open up for him, and like that would be so dope. But yeah, so they're one of the reasons I picked up a camera, and then I've kind of always had that in my mind. I want to do like out on the street sort of stuff. And then with Jackass, there was a lot of humility with it. It was like in a weird way, like sweet and family oriented, and it all came down to like kind of they were the butt of the joke of it. And so I keep that in the back of my mind. Like, I don't want to mess with people too much to where they get like really offended. But who knows? I could make in a couple of videos, I could make something where people flip my car out of anger. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, so for these videos that you post, because a lot of them have been like COVID-19 related recently, but like, how much pre-production do you do? Like, do you write down a lot of the jokes? Do you kind of just film and rip jokes as you go? And also too, like the filmmaking part of it, where like there's a lot of really good angles and cuts in those videos too. It's like, again, I feel like comedy is just so slept on, from movies to sketches to everything, where people are just like, it's just jokes, where like there's a ton of work put into it, where like I mean, if you didn't have the right camera person for a video, it wouldn't be nearly as funny. Like, it's knowing what to capture and how to capture it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome that you I like that you're talking like this. This is great, because there is a lot of work that goes into it. And I'm not just saying that for myself. I think comedy in general is like, it's so hard to like figure out a joke, and especially in video form, it's really hard, I'm finding.
Well, because there's a lot of ways to deliver a joke, where you can hear it, you can see it, like, but you can have the person do it or just the viewer see it. Like, and it's about the frame you make too, like what you want them to see, what you don't want them to see. It's like, it's almost like a painting, where like it's so complex to actually land a joke properly.
Yeah, it's like a painting that you can move around, because when you edit it, like especially a video, when you edit it, it's like you can reformat it and switch things around and try to figure out the best way to make people laugh. And just tighten it, get to the jokes quicker. You asked, wait, what did you ask me about? You asked
just kind of like what your process is before filming a video. Like how much do you think of ahead of time, like shots
yeah.
wise, edits, or just jokes in general?
Usually I think about it a lot, like, and the best things that I have found, I'm not the greatest at improving a ton. I feel like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out improv, like figuring things out on the spot, but I can write. Like I'm really confident in my writing. And so a lot of the times what I'll do is, I'll write down a series of jokes. Like for example, with the 2020 video, I wrote down like 5 different or 10 different, yeah, about 10 different jokes that I just wanted to say into the camera. Like one of the jokes is like, Coachella's canceled, Coldplay's not on tour. If I can't go to Burning Man and trip balls with some wild desert gypsy, I'm going to be pissed. And so it was just like different things like that, that I wanted to say into the camera. And then in between the jokes was to go out and improv and get real reactions, which
Mhm.
ended up, I think that the real reactions were the better part of the video, which I just wasn't sure if that was going to happen. But yeah, it did. So that's how I did that video. And then the other videos where it's more of like sketch stuff that I do with my brother most of the time, that's almost always planned out too. I'll even like write a script a lot, but then like riff off the script and stuff like that. Um, and when it comes to camera angles, kind of like do that in the moment. And then the edit, I always have in the back of my mind. But then when I get down to edit it, it's always way different and way more frustrating and causes me so much anger that you wouldn't believe, and time consuming and all the things. But
Editing
it's,
can do that to you.
yeah, absolutely.
It's stressful seeing like your bin full of every take and you're just like, okay, but which one do I use? Which order? I
Yeah.
mean, for me, when I approach an edit though, I almost always watch all of the raw footage before I start. I'm like,
Yeah,
I need to literally know everything that's in this because
for
I don't
sure.
I don't want to be cutting something. And for comedy, like if you can have a great reaction shot that you can throw over something, even if it didn't happen when that joke happened,
Yeah.
like it's like those little things where like the right editor can really change a video.
Yeah, I'm lucky that I've been editing. I mean, that's what I do for like work. I've been doing that for like 10 years. So I'm able to like do it and kind of quickly, but I always need to have somebody taking a second look at the videos, like the comedy videos, because it just always makes things better when you have a second pair of eyes
And
on it.
also when you're editing your own jokes, like the stuff you wrote, or if you're on camera as well, like I know, like I always second guess myself. I'm like, all right, but is this funny? And like, or
Yeah.
did this land the right way? Did the message get across? Because like
Yeah.
I know what message I want to get across, but like knowing that somebody else sees it is like that nice reassuring feeling.
Right. Yeah. Or it's cool sometimes too when you get a laugh that you didn't think was going to get a laugh,
Yes.
which is cool.
Yes.
Like what the post-production process is I'll do an edit on it, get it pretty tight, get it pretty solid, and then I'll like step away from the computer because my eyes are bleeding and I'm so sick and tired of cutting footage. And then I'll have my brother get on it, and then he takes a look at it, and I'm usually like in the other room. And when I hear him laugh, I'm like, I kind of like go, "What made you laugh? What was that part that made you laugh?" And then, and yeah, I mean, and the other thing is, I'm realizing like uh, the landscape of social media and YouTube and how to post things on Instagram and Twitter and is so much different than like what a TV show would be. So when we first started making these skits, we were making it like a TV show, like Always Sunny in Philadelphia or The Office or something like that, or Curb, which, all these are like my favorite shows. So we were trying to kind of recreate those styles, but with our own humor on it. But it worked sometimes, but it wasn't efficient because it was so much work. It was writing one day, shooting the next day, editing the third day. So it took 3 days to make a video that like you don't know if it's going to work. So this time we're figuring out a more efficient style and then editing it differently for social media. Just immediately get to the joke, right away get to the joke, and just make it a lot quicker. And then I think like getting a few jokes in there for the first 30 seconds, a minute, and then you can kind of slow it down a little bit. But yeah, I think with social media, I mean, dude, I'm using TikTok now, trying to grow on there, and that the ADHD I get off TikTok, I feel like the Tasmanian devil is in my brainstem.
TikTok, you can like open the app and then like blink and it's 5 hours later. Easy.
Oh, dude, yeah,
So easy.
you take a nap on TikTok and you wake up and it's your mom's 90th birthday.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my co-host Cassie, she was the one who convinced me to get TikTok because at first I was like, no, I'm too cool. Like I don't
Yeah,
like TikTok. I'm a Vine
yeah,
kid. And then
yeah,
finally I download it. And it was partially because sports teams were starting to make TikToks. And I was just like, all right, I'm in. Like
yeah,
sports people are doing it. But then I figured out it's literally like one, it's a gateway to Gen Z viewers. Like, because if you post on there, people in that age group are way more likely to see it than you on Instagram or YouTube, just because they're not on there anymore.
yeah.
Like it's catering to different audiences and different styles where like you can cut your videos in different ways to fit each platform, which I think is really cool and an interesting way to see how everybody does it a little different.
100%. I mean, Instagram is screwed right now. I don't know what they're doing. People are losing followers. I think what they are doing, and this is what I heard, they're going to try to start monetizing IGTV. So they're going through and scraping all the bots right now. So because they want advertisers to know that they're getting real people instead of bots.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I feel like Instagram needs to make an announcement that they're doing that. And they need to do it quicker or make some sort of shift, because TikTok has them, running quick, and I don't know what is going on with Instagram. Like, it used to be a place where you could grow easily, but now it's not like that at all. And TikTok and YouTube are like, especially TikTok, are like the new places. Not YouTube isn't new, but are like the proven places where you can consistently see an audience grow.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
LinkedIn's really good for that too.
yeah, I've heard about that. You're the second person to tell me that. I just don't know how I would use that for comedy.
See, I feel like that's exactly why you need to, because not
Mm,
enough people are. Where like it's not like taken as seriously, but it should be, because it's just as, because I have a LinkedIn page for the podcast,
mm,
and we got more followers on that page in a day than the YouTube page did.
no way.
And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, that's crazy. But LinkedIn it's interesting because it's the most positive social media platform I found, where like everybody on there is just trying to either grow their personal brand, their business, or something, or
Mm,
the company they work for.
yeah.
And like, it's just straight up networking, where like I see somebody that works at a company I think does really cool shit. I'm like,
Mhm,
all right, I connect with you. And then I can message them and be like, hey, like I thought that was really awesome. And then they check out what I do. And
yeah.
like, it's kind of like a vice versa thing, where one of my other really good friends, Sully, who's on this podcast a lot, he's like killing the LinkedIn game right now. He's
Mm,
making daily posts where it's just a story. It's just a story about the quarantine, what he's doing during this, because he runs a podcast business. And
mm,
like, there's just a lot of room, I think, for comedy to grow on there, where like
interesting.
you could post like a snippet of the video and just be like, full video here, link it to stuff. But also it's a completely different audience, where like Gen Z's on TikTok, then like millennials are on YouTube and Instagram. But then LinkedIn's kind of like a meeting place, because Gen Z people need jobs, millennials need jobs, and then like the boomers and whatever one's in between boomers and millennials, I always forget, it might be X or something, but
I don't
they're
know.
on there too, because they're the employers. So it's like it's like a melting pot of people. So, and it gets it to new eyes, just like how you post on TikTok and it's new people. But
Mm,
it's a very different platform. I would recommend using on your laptop though, because their phone app is not easy like to
mm.
navigate at all.
Right, man. You have me feeling like Steve Jobs right now. Just, thinking how to conquer the world. Now, I feel
That's
like
what you always got to be thinking, you
isn't
know?
isn't yeah isn't LinkedIn like CEOs and stuff like that, or is it
Well,
anybody
see, that's the intimidating stereotype behind it. Where at first
on?
I was like, it was in my last semester. My professor was like, you need to make a LinkedIn. I'm like, I don't want to make a LinkedIn. It's all suits, you know. Like I want to make movies. Why would I be on there? Well, I get on
Yeah.
there and I find out that almost every production assistant is on there on different sets, and
Mm,
that could lead to a job. And then key PAs and like first like ADs and like directors and editors and cinematographers, all these people are just on there. And then also corporate people for all that stuff's on there, because yeah, I love making movies, but corporate jobs pay while I'm trying to find the movie jobs, you know.
right, right.
So it's like there's almost an advantage to it, where like if your thing isn't on there yet, you being on there helps grow it. And like it's really cool to see, because like I joined LinkedIn in September, and now I have like 300 connections on there because I just throw connections out to people. I'm like, I think what you're doing is cool. Let's connect. And it's as
Holy
simple as
freaking
that.
crap. Holy crap,
Exactly.
dude.
And that's the thing is I love Instagram. Like Instagram was my favorite social media, but like you said, it's kind of in a weird place right now where like back when I first made an Instagram, it was really fun and like everybody would just throw pictures up and like you would post every day. Nobody
Yeah.
cared if it got likes, you would just post it. Like
Yeah.
you could post a picture of your toaster and be like, yo, this is my toaster. And you'd
Oh,
get
yeah.
like 10 likes and you'd be like, all right, 30 minutes later, here's my dog. Like
Yeah.
the most wholesome random stuff. And then now it's just like you got those Instagram models, like, and then like the fake bots sliding in your DMs with pyramid schemes, and it's just like, you know, what happened to this place we loved?
Yeah, that's weird. And I grew up in yeah, I'm from Oregon, and that's where a lot of Instagram started was the Pacific Northwest photos. You know, those are all over the place. You don't see those anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, maybe I'll get on LinkedIn. Maybe I'll put on a business suit and a tie and go around and do some comedy sketches.
You know, I was gonna say it'd be funny if you made a comedy sketch where you're walking around on the streets being like, would you like to connect on LinkedIn, and you're in like a full suit,
Oh,
just
that'd be
like
fun.
and just be as professional as possible. If they ask
Yeah,
what you do, just be like, I'm a clown, or
yeah,
like something ridiculous like
that'd be
that.
funny. I think one of
Yeah.
my next videos, I'm gonna do a conspiracy theorist.
Oh,
The friend that's the conspiracy theorist.
nice.
Yeah, I was just hanging
Oh,
out with one of my friends, and he's a hardcore conspiracy theorist, and I was like, all right, making a video about that.
yes, that is great.
Yeah,
So then this is the kind of the reason why this is happening. When you started your podcast, The Brother Show, I just
yeah,
kind of reached out because like I said, I just found you really funny. And like for me, I commute to both my jobs, so like podcasts are just like how I get through the commutes because like 40-minute drives are annoying and like boring. But then like I can listen to just all kinds of different people's like points of views on things, like what they do, what and just like your show, just kind of shooting the shit, like random stuff. But like we've talked about this a lot on this podcast, especially when another podcast host is on. It's like when you're in a podcast, you kind of enter this zone where like me and you had never met before this, but like we're vibing right now, like we're talking as if we've known each other.
Oh yeah,
And like,
I feel a lot of love right now.
oh, me too, dude.
I don't know if I ate some oysters and it's an aphrodisiac, or if I'm just madly in love with you, like Ryan Gosling in The Notebook.
Oh, dude, you had to bring up Ryan Gosling. That's my guy.
Yeah, we're vibing. We're
We are
vibing.
vibing. But yeah, no, it's like each time I have a new guest on, it's like I don't care if I've known you for 15 years or if I've known you for an hour. Like this is lit. Like this is the place to just talk and just let it out, you know? And
Yeah,
I just think it's really dope. But so your podcast, The Brother Show, I immediately was like, wait, he's got a brother? Like
I do.
this is good because I have an older brother. Are you older or younger?
I'm older.
You're older. Okay. So me and
Yeah.
Dakota are the younger bros. So
Yes.
my brother and I, like with the way you guys talk about your stories and like the way you have jokes, it's literally the same thing. So
Yeah.
like that premise alone is just super relatable. But what made you guys like want to start the Brother Show? Because I think it's going great so far.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, we just vibe out all the time. We live together and we make movies all the time together. And the way we just have always made each other laugh so much just with the conversation. And I was just like, all right, let's just do a podcast and see how it goes. We have guests on every once in a while, but a lot of the times it's just like us talking back and forth about. We try to stay on like certain subjects. Like we love movies, so we do a lot of movie reviews, and then
Love
topical events.
movies.
Oh,
Love
movies are the
movies.
best. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Did you see Invisible Man?
I did.
Yeah,
I thought it was great.
I loved it, dude.
I was such a fan of it because,
Yes,
you know, so movie trailers are so misleading to me. I hate watching movie trailers
sure.
because I just get pissed off seeing so many of these images before the movie. So when I saw Invisible Man trailer, I was like, okay, is this all the jump scares in the movie? Like, I'm not excited for this.
Oh, the trailers, it was the cheesiest thing I'd ever seen.
Exactly. But then
Yeah,
when you see the movie, they popped off. Like I did not expect that. Elizabeth Moss was great. The
yeah.
music was insane. Like the tension they built with just the music alone,
Oh yeah,
I thought was crazy. But yeah,
yeah. I could geek out on that all day.
I know.
We'll start a separate podcast and talk about the Invisible Man on every episode.
Only every single episode.
Yeah.
We'll try and get each person who worked on the movie on about their experience
Yeah,
on set.
yeah. But yes, we have like certain subjects that we talk about, and topical events, and then stories from our hometown, which we have like tons of stories that are crazy. I don't know. A lot of it's like very crass. It's a very crass podcast. We swear a lot, which I'm trying to avoid on this one. But but the stories are just crazy of what happened to us in high school. Like one of the teachers, the librarian.
Ooh, I think it froze. Yep, the screen froze.
Oh,
Yep.
you there?
Yep.
Did you get the prison story?
No.
Oh, okay. So one of the teachers, librarians from my high school, made love with a lot of the students, some of my friends, and then
Oh,
went
I
to
did
jail.
listen to that episode. Yeah.
Yeah. So she went to jail, and so stories like that. I was actually surprised when we put that out, and then we asked for people to send their stories in of like crazy high school stories. So many people sent in stories like, yeah, my teacher hooked up with the students too. I was like, what, dude? What's up with all these teachers? And I didn't get to kiss any of them. Sucks.
Yeah. I just think that my favorite part about podcasting is like the identity of each podcast, the why. And like for us, it's like talking about content creating and then just getting to know the people who make content. But
Yeah.
yours, it's just straight up entertainment, like you two just talking and just making people laugh. And I mean, Cassie was listening to it and she was cracking up too. She hadn't heard of you, and I was like, "All right, you got to check him out. Like, you got to watch his videos." And she thought you were hilarious too.
That's funny, dude. Well, shout out to her. That's awesome. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No, I just think it's cool how many different things you do, how many different hats you wear. Where like 1 second you're on a stage doing a stand-up act, the next second you're filming on the streets of LA, then you're in your apartment recording a podcast. It's just like kind of all different things, which is really cool.
Man, I appreciate that. I just love creating. Like when I'm not doing something, it really my mind goes insane. And
I know that feeling.
yeah, right. And it's so fun to come up with ideas. My favorite part of it is the brainstorming stage of any idea. Like that's why I love writing. And there's never a shortage of ideas. Like when I'm in like a writer's block, or I can't think of what to do next, or I can't think of like this or that, I always go back to like there's never a shortage of ideas. I've been in this position so many times before where I want to create something, I can't think of something, but then eventually something happens and I come up with something. And man, it's fun. I just love making stuff. I just love making silly stuff, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but it's the best way to learn and figure it out.
Yeah, something you said earlier that really like resonated with me too was just like when you're traveling the world, like the common denominator is laughter, is smiling, is that stuff. And like one of the best feelings in the world is showing somebody something you made and they liked it or laughed or smiled. Like just that feeling. Like I remember the first time I had that, I made like a really terrible home movie with my brother. And it was like a spoof of a hospital drama show. And we had like one of those flip video cameras, but we filmed it all with our Transformers toys. And I remember being so excited because I was like 8 years old. I'm like, I made a movie, and I'm like
Yeah.
showing it to my family at like my birthday party or like Thanksgiving, some event where we're
Yeah.
all gathered. And
Right.
they were just laughing because of how terrible it was. But I'm
Were
like,
you trying to make it serious?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was like the Transformers were the doctors, and like we were performing, like our hands were in it. We didn't even do stop motion, but it was
Oh,
called Dr. Primus too, for Optimus Prime. We were very
oh,
clever.
wow.
But that was like the effect of like I felt that feeling and I chased it. Where like in middle school, I found a class called TV production. I was like, this is it. Like I'm
Yeah.
taking this. And then like we would get out of class and go film school events and then film our own videos.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wait, people do this like for
Yeah.
a job? Like this
Oh,
is
yeah.
real? You
That's
know?
exactly how it was
Like
for me.
I don't
Yeah.
know how often you feel this, but I feel all the time. I'm like, this is what I do for work. Like my job is this. Like I'm
Yeah.
making stuff and people are watching it, and that's what I do.
It's crazy, man. I'm extremely fortunate to do what I do, and I do think about it all the time. Yeah, dude. Like someone the other day, I ran into them, and they were like, "Dude, I was having a like a kind of a bad day, and then I was going through your Instagram, and it made me laugh, and it made me feel really good. And I was like, that's, to me, that's like the coolest thing, because a lot of times when I do a video, when you do stand up, it's like right there in the moment. But when you do a video, you have no idea how people are actually feeling.
It's just like throwing your line out there and you have no idea if you catch a fish.
You catch a fish, you could catch a hubcap. You have no idea. But yeah, and that's happened. And whenever that happens, I'm like, dang, that's really, really cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think something that's really awesome too is like, I see you pop up on other people's stuff all the time because you work with BC.
Yeah.
And you got like your chemistry is just like off the charts, like just hilarious when you two are together. Like,
Yeah, so much love.
Yes. And I love his podcast too. I hope
Yeah.
he does more episodes because that was a great commuting podcast too.
Yeah.
I always describe to people like I feel so wholesome after I listen to it. Like,
yeah,
it's like I
it's
just
the
feel
complete
good.
opposite of my podcast.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You can listen to BC's with your parents, and then with yours, unless they're into that kind of comedy, I would watch out.
Right. Yeah. BC is probably a good palate cleanser, but definitely listen to mine way more than his, I would say. Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. We
take
have
that, BC.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but then also like you're when you're in Yes Theory videos too, like I mean what's that like working with them, like is it really like that spontaneous last minute? It's like, oh hey, like you want to go do this thing, like some ridiculous thing, like
yeah, I mean, so those guys are like my best friends, and we haven't done a video together in a while. It's a long story of like we all used to live in this house together, and then they evicted us out of the house because they were building. They made videos about it.
Yeah.
Because they were like tearing down the house, and so we all like split up and moved to different areas. And when that happened, I kind of started my own content. So I haven't been in one of their videos in quite a while. We went to Guatemala and filmed a documentary last year.
That's what I was gonna say, was because I remember from the doc, I rewatched it the other day, that it was your idea.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of the last trips that I went on. So before that Guatemala trip, I went on one maybe like a year before that. And I came back and told the guys, I was like, dude, we gotta go to this place. There's the biggest pyramid in the world there. And I have a guy that can guide us through the jungle there. And we kind of like put it on the back burner. And then they just like hit me up randomly one day and was like, dude, let's go do that. And so, yeah, I reached out to the guy, we coordinated it, set it up. And I mean, it wasn't that spontaneous because there was so much planning to go into it.
Yeah, well, because that was a full-on documentary, not just like one of their YouTube episodes.
Right, and there was a whole team and a lot of people.
Yeah, that one I thought was especially cool because you guys like assembled this like a team of like YouTube content creators and influencers and just like cool people in general.
Oh yeah.
So, like, I mean, I'm sure that was like an unforgettable experience, like doing that.
Dude, it was dope, and it was very God, there was so much that happened. I mean, dude, we walked for 90 miles, the whole thing. Like by the end, my feet, holy crap, it was so painful. It was like somebody was taking, every step was a tack hammer on the bottom of my heel. It was so bad. But it was worth it. We went and did it all. Yeah, awesome team. Oh, such a dope team. We had like Sam Calder, Chelsea, Sorrell. Yeah, I mean, and Max. There was such a dope squad of people out there with us.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I like their videos so much is like it's not to sell ads, it's not to like get clout and make money. Like they're doing their mission, their why is very genuine and very real, and it just translates so well. Like the first time I ever watched one of their videos, my co-host Cassie actually showed it to me. We were sitting in an airport waiting to pick up her best friend Mike, who lives in LA right now. He was coming home for Thanksgiving. We were just sitting in the Newark airport, very bored, and there's like nothing to do because we're not passengers. So, like we couldn't go in. So we had to like sit on the outside. And Cassie was like, yo, these guys like convinced people to fly on a plane to them, like with them, like drop their flight and go somewhere else. And then I was just like, that's not real. Like there's no way that happened. And then I learned that no, it's very real, and it very much so happened. And that was like my YouTube binge over that Thanksgiving break, was like just watch this YouTube channel. And, you know, I just think that like it was a really big moment in my life finding that, where like I was graduating college and I had no idea how I wanted to pursue my career. And like that kind of opened it up where I found you. I found so many other just inspiring people just through their channel, where it's like now, like before, my Instagram feed was a bunch of people from high school just like posting random pictures. Now I follow people who are like insane drone people, like pilots, or just like comedians like you, or like different things where it's like these people, they found their thing they want to do and they go out and do it every day. So why can't I do that? And like the fact that I get to have you on my podcast is like such a big moment for me, because like you are just such a cool, genuine person, and like that translated through their videos and your own content. But now I like know for sure you are too, which is like awesome.
Wow. Are we about to get married?
I mean, hey, I'm an ordained minister.
Dude,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. I seriously appreciate that, man. Yeah, those guys are great. I mean, they've started this ecosystem where they have like shown other people that are doing cool things. And yeah, man, that there are, there's so much talent out there. There's so much talent, and it all to the point where it can either discourage you or lift you up. It's either fuel that'll like, dampen you, or fuel that'll light the flame. And yeah, it's really, really cool. I mean, we have the opportunity to create and make as much as we can, and as much as we want to, as much as we want to. And it's really, really exciting. I think the thing that's important is figuring out why you're doing it. Something that like it makes you happy for the most part. There's going to be frustrating times. Something that makes you happy for the most part. And yeah, having a really, really strong why, something that makes you happy for the most part. And then figuring out a style that you like. And then a style that the audience engages with. So I've heard this saying before where it's like, try what you like and keep what they like. That's like a saying that I've heard in comedy. So like you do your jokes that you think are good, and then you only keep the ones that they laughed at. So it's like honing it in and figuring it out. And that's something that I'm on my YouTube channel, because I've done so many different sort of videos. I'm like slowly honing in, and I'm like, I'm pretty close to figuring out what is going to work for me. Yeah, right now.
Yeah, I think that's really important to think about. Like I've heard that from a lot of people now, where it's like, if you want to be a director, don't copy every director you watch. Like they've already done their movies and are making their movies in their style. Like don't do a Tarantino shot because it's Tarantino shot. Like do a Luke Miller shot because you're Luke Miller. You're not Tarantino, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And it's one thing to learn from them, but to emulate is, you just can't do that. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good practice, but I think until there's a lot of people that want to create, and like part of the reason why this podcast started was like I just found out like every time I met somebody that made something, they have this mindset within them. It's a little different between each person, but basically it's like you said, like people can either get discouraged by how much you can make or get uplifted by it. I feel like a lot of people who make stuff were at one point discouraged, but then realized, wait, I can be that. I can
Hmm.
do that. And then
Yeah.
it's switched for them, as opposed to just being like born and you're like, yo, I'm going to make content. It's like, no, like this content's stressful, but I really like it. I want to make it. And then you find your voice and you kind of like find your way. And I mean, that's the best part about this journey I've been on, is just everybody has such a different story and a different approach to it. But at the end of the day, we're all just doing what we love to do. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And you have to really, really, really love it. If you really, really love it, then I truly, truly believe that no matter what, in the long run, it's going to work out. Um, because I mean, there are a lot of obstacles in the way, and a lot of fears and a lot of anxieties. But if you really are obsessed with it, like you have to be obsessed, I feel like, um, then it's gonna work out, and because you kind of, if you're in love with it, then one of the great things that happens is you lose your ego. Your ego gets kind of detached. And once you lose your ego, then you're just doing it out of pure joy, and you're not doing it for anybody else. which is so, so important. I think like our egos can get caught up in a lot of things, especially with content, and everything is based on, on likes and views. Every day you open your phone and those likes are just essentially trophies that you're seeing over and over again. So, um, yeah, man, just loving it helps so, so much. And if like people that don't know what they love yet, that's fine. Just keep trying new things. But like whenever somebody asks me for, I guess, advice, I always feel like go after what sparks something in you. Like think of all the things that you have in your life and be like, what do you really, really get enjoyment out of? And don't think about the career path for it. Just put all of that aside and just be like, what do you really like? Is it playing the guitar? Is it cooking? Is it finance? Like, what is it is it math? Whatever. What do you, when you think about it, just makes you so excited to go after and do it. And that's what it was for me, was comedy and making videos. And, I've just combined them both, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I was once told by like a former professor, they were like, think about what you wouldn't mind waking up at 5 a.m. every single day to do. If you're
Yeah.
willing to wake up that early, start your day that early every single day, doing that one thing, that that's something worth doing. Because like,
Ooh,
right? Like when I
that's,
was told that, I was like, well, what would I do? And then I got an internship with this production company in New Jersey, and they had me on 5 a.m. shoots. And I was like, oh God, like I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. But then here I am, like waking up at 3:30 to get ready, no problem. And I'm on a 14-hour day. And at the end of the day, I'm happy. I was like, all right, I think I found something here.
that's awesome, man. I love that. That's great. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like that moment, like you said, if you don't have it right now, it's not a big deal because this is life. Like you're living through things right now. We're in a quarantine. Like this is the time to relax, kind of get your life back into order. I mean, I've been just reorganizing, cleaning, fixing, whatever I haven't had the time to do. You always say you don't have the time, but now you do. So there's really no excuses to not do those boring things. But also,
Oh
it's a
yeah.
it's a really great time, like for me, like I missed working so much. Like I have missed my job so much since this started. I'm like, all right, then I do like those. Like that's good.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and then like this podcast, like at first I had no idea what I was gonna do. And then my friend Sully was like, Zoom's the wave, bro. Get Zoom. Just do it. Like it's $15 a month for the pro version, but I can have up to 100 people in here and for unlimited time and record.
Nice. That's awesome. Heck
And
yes.
I mean, a podcast with 100 people would be rather chaotic, but
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah, don't do that.
possibility is there. We
Yeah.
could try it, but I don't think it would flow so well.
Yeah, that's like the World War Z of podcasts, I would
Oh
agree.
my God. Ugh, Brad Pitt, what a guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and because of Zoom, it's like I get to do podcasts like this with you where like we're on opposite sides of the country right now, but we get to just sit down and vibe for a little bit, which I think is really great.
Dude, it's awesome, man. I love it. It's crazy that you're able to connect with people from across the country. Like, what the heck?
I know.
Blows my mind. Somebody the other day, like whenever somebody messages me from another country and they're like, just like whatever, said something about one of my videos, it is so cool and crazy that a person in India watches my videos. I'm like, what the heck, dude? That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, just having that reach that like YouTube brings or Instagram, whatever, you just never thought you'd have that. Like,
Yeah.
because like for me, like I got my first iPhone in like high school. So like growing up, we didn't have Instagram or any of that stuff. Like it was
Yeah.
like you and your friends, like if you like I remember like we recorded like songs on our flip phones from the TV to be our ringtones.
Oh
And
yeah.
like now you can just go on iTunes and buy like any song ever and it's your ringtone,
Yeah.
or download an app. So like that, it's just wild to me that now like the Gen Z kids on TikTok, they're just like what's life without a phone? I got my first iPhone at 5.
Yeah. But nowadays, if you use a ringtone, have you found that it's weird? Like if somebody has like Guns N' Roses playing, you're like, what are you doing? Get out of line at Whole Foods.
Yeah. I mean, well, my brother does personal ringtones, so it's like he knows who's calling. We're like,
Okay.
yeah, so like what is my ringtone? I don't know. It's probably
Slipknot or like,
yeah, no. I gotta ask him. I forget. It might have been the Power Rangers theme song for a while.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that works.
I know that's his text tone for me because then he tells people that he's getting communication from Zordon. And it's very important.
Love
But
it.
yeah, classic 90s. But yeah, no. So before we go, just because I think this is kind of a good wrapping time, even though I don't want to because we're vibing, but
We're vibing, dude.
yeah. So I just want you to kind of like shout out where people can find all of your stuff. Like just tell them like your user stuff. This will all be in the description too.
Cool.
But this is your time to flex.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just a basic flex. Yeah, just Instagram, YouTube, at Perry Grone, TikTok, same thing. I'm gonna shout out my TikTok as well because that's, if you're not on TikTok, then well, you probably have not as much anxiety as the rest of us. But
Yes, you have more free time.
yeah, and then so yeah, at Perry Grone on everything on YouTube, and then the Brother Show is the podcast that I do with my younger brother.
All right, Perry. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, this is just really cool for me being able to connect with someone that I've looked up to, like through your videos and like the
Dude,
content you create. So it's just really cool and I appreciate it. And also, we like having guests back on. Like we don't just do interviews. We do episodes where like we all talk about a topic within content creating too.
Mm-hmm.
So like it'll be like just we talk about like making films on a budget and like we'll have a couple different people who have worked in situations like that and just kind of talk. So the invitation's always there if you want to come back on.
I would love it, dude.
Yeah. So again, thank you. And thank you everybody for watching or listening. Make sure to check out Perry because in this time you need to laugh. Laughing is very important. So his content's great. And I mean, whenever he posts a video, I'm just like, all right, here we go. Like time to laugh.
Thanks, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, so thank you again, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you soon.
Adios.
Patience at a minimum, yeah. But you gotta let it happen like a ritual. My main thing left and my side thing switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Main thing left, side thing switched up. It's better that way.